We're going to talk about teams that are under the radar in the NBA this upcoming season. Now, the one thing I want to mention before we get into it is chemistry matters a ton. And some of these elite teams in the West got 2, sometimes 3 new starters. Mm-hmm. And how these teams gel is going to be difficult. It's not an easy task. I mean, we mentioned it a little bit. Frank, we're not going to talk about the Lakers. They're not under the radar. You got a new coach in Frank Vogel. You've probably got 2 or 3 new starters. LeBron will be joined by Anthony Davis, maybe Danny Green, maybe Avery Bradley, maybe Boogie Cousins starts. I don't know. Clippers also not under the radar. They've got at least 2 new starters. Let's see what they do at center. But I will let Matt go first. Under the radar teams, East or West, you can get started, Matt. Let's hear it.
I think under the radar, and people might say it's a crazy pick, but I think Golden State. I think people, because you lose KD, Clay goes down, they lose in the finals, and people completely write them off because they haven't made any huge moves this summer. You know, they were able to, very smartly get something for KD, which was, D'Angelo Russell. But, you got Clay when he gets healthy, Draymond and Steph. You got the 3 amigos, and you can never count them out. So I got Golden State. I have Utah. I was fortunate enough to play with Mike Conley for a year in Memphis, and he's the ultimate pro. And I think he was the running mate that Donovan Mitchell needed in the backcourt to take some pressure off him. I think Donovan Mitchell's an up-and-coming star. I think he needed a sidekick that could really carry some scoring weight, and Mike Conley can definitely do that. And then they built great pieces around him. And I love Quinn Snyder. I had him as an assistant with the Lakers. Another under-the-radar team, I like San Antonio. Quietly, but, they get DeJounte Murray back this year. They've picked up a few guys, and Pop's teams are always very competitive. I like to see what Dallas does. Why am I forgetting his name? Rookie of the year.
Luka
was he's one of my favorite players to watch. As far as
high praise
from a skill standpoint, we haven't really seen someone of his skill come into the game at his age and do what he did to these established NBA teams and players. He was very impressive. And then, the unicorn is back and hopefully healthy off of a knee. And they're continuing to add solid pieces over there.
Wow,
so
he's only 20?
Baby.
He averaged 21, 7, and 6. Those are LeBron-type numbers at 20.
Incredible. And I think he got overlooked because the team wasn't very good. But he
had nobody around him. I mean,
so there. I'm looking forward to see what year 2 looks like for him. So I think, to me, that the most of the surprise teams are in the West. That's where a majority of the guys came in free agency. Brooklyn grabbed their guys, but KD's down for a year, so you kind of have to wait to see what they're going to be. But there's a handful of teams in the West I'm excited to see.
Oh my gosh, you're right. So who was their second best player? Harrison Barnes played with them for a minute. Had 17 a game. Tim Hardaway had 15 a game. Wesley Matthews, Dennis Smith, all these guys are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Luka Doncic is a totally new team. Now, I'm going to add the Vegas numbers. Let me know if this changes your mind. Vegas has Dallas over-under wins at 41.5, essentially a 500 team. Do you think that's because maybe they don't know how to gauge the Porzingis? We haven't seen him in over a year.
We have to see how those two, it's really key. Like I said, you can't talk to management or executives and understand what the other star is thinking. So you're going to have to see how their chemistry between Porzingis and Luka is going to work, because obviously they're the franchise players. So I think it maybe a little low, but could be right on because the West is tough.
Yeah. This is a weird depth chart. They got Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee at the small forward, Porzingis at the 4, and Dwight Powell at the 5. Luka Doncic is going to have to do a lot with that group.
Porzingis is going to have to do a lot.
Porzingis, yeah. They're role players. I don't know. They're still a piece or two away from being a playoff team. All right, Spurs are really fascinating. You had the Spurs. They're at 44.5 wins, according to Vegas. Their guard play is going to be sick. Now, it almost leads me to believe, you mentioned DeJounte Murray. They're super high on him. He's going to start at point guard. Derek White showed out against the Nuggets in the playoffs. Patty Mills, obviously a fixture. Lonnie Walker, I don't know how much Summer League you're watching. Lonnie Walker, kid, I think he went to Miami. He could play. He can rise up. And then you got DeRozan. So you're like, what is that, 5 guards? Does DeRozan become expendable, or are people not going to be interested in him?
Yeah, I think people will always be interested in him because he's still one of the top top 2 guards in the league. To me, he's not necessarily a 1 as far as
Can he be a 2?
Oh, absolutely. I think he could definitely be a 2.
On a team that wins a title or just contends?
Tough call. Depends on who you
Because
won.
he was the number 2 in Toronto.
Depends on who behind.
He might have been the number 1. Yeah, you're right.
Because he was more consistent than Lowry was.
Yeah.
So it depends on who your number 1 is if he's your number 2. But I like DeRozan.
And they got Bryn Forbes, Michigan State kid, who can fill it up. And then, LaMarcus, I don't know. But I do like that Spurs team. Utah 53.5 wins is a high over-under, but that team is stacked. Mm-hmm. And they're going to kill teams in the regular season.
I love Quinn Snyder has something good going there. Like I said, Donovan Mitchell now has his running mate. They added some shooting in free agency. Joe Ingles is continuing to improve his game. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and Gobert. So they just play basketball the right way. They're going to be a really tough team.
Where are you on Bogdanovich? He was pretty good in Indiana. Really gave LeBron fits 2 years ago, if you remember when the Pacers pushed him 7. Defensively, they're going to be a little, I don't know if slow is the right word, if I'm using coded language there in a way that I should not.
The good thing, if you can be slow and you have a great anchor and Gobert for the lack of defense or just lack of defense they have on the team, you always have a great anchor in the middle. So Bogdanovich, I love what he do. He's a stretch forward. He got paid some good money, and he's someone that can put the ball in the basket, and that's what it's about these days.
One of their other wings, a young kid, Dante Exum, comes up and works out of my gym. Very friendly guy. He looks like an incredible athlete. If he can stay healthy. That's the key.
Yeah, he's had injuries throughout, and they've had high hopes on him. So I think this is his year to figure out what he's got going on, or they'll probably move on from him.
And then finally, your other mention, Golden State. Vegas has them at 48.5 wins. I don't, Matt, to be honest, they should call you to come play small forward. I'm not kidding. Alfonso McKinney is one of their small forwards. The other guy is going to be Glenn Robinson's kid, who, he's kind of bounced around. We don't really know what he is. I don't think Jordan Poole, young kid from Michigan, I don't think he's ready to contribute. Jacob Evans out of Cincinnati. They have nothing at the wing. No, McKinney was in the G League a year ago.
They got Alex Burke. I think they just signed him, and I like him. If he can,
is he former Utah guy?
Yeah, if he can. I remember when he was playing well in Utah, he was definitely a problem. So if he can get his mind right and lock back into what he was doing a few years ago, I think he'll help. But like I said, I think it's going to be driven by their Draymond and Steph. D'Lo's going to have to take a big role. Kevon Looney is a solid double guy. You got Cauley Stein now at the center, so I think with the 2 guys they have, their 2 all-stars, are going to rely heavy on them. I think Draymond's going to have to score a little bit more this year until they get Clay back, but they've been there and they've done that.
It's interesting. I talked to somebody who said that Kevon Looney last summer, the Warriors knew he was going to be really good when he was working out with Kevin Durant and in some pickup games, and he was capably defending Kevin Durant because of his length,
and he's got good lateral movement too.
Well, you might have been there at those Rico Hines pickup games at UCLA.
Yeah, Rico's my guy. You know what I mean? So I saw all the hard work that Loon put in with Rico the past 2 or 3 summers, and it's really paid off because he was always a very skilled, at UCLA, he was dropping triple doubles left and right. So he's a very skilled player. He just came out early, and he's not.
He had the health scare, right?
And then he's not your prototypical, flashy athlete, power forward type guy. He's just a very smart player. That's why he fit in with Golden State, but he knows how to play basketball. So he's someone who's very talented.
Now, this is not a hot take, but it's the kind of thing that matters more than hot takes. And Matt talked about it during the break with me, is chemistry matters so much. And I look at the upheaval on this Warriors roster. And, one of the things Matt Barnes had said about the Golden State when he was there and watching them is their bench was into games. They love it. They're rooting on their teammates. They feel like they're a real unified team, and that stuff matters.
No, absolutely. I think when we look at free agency, especially with all the movement, we look out on paper, man, these guys are going to be great, but then paper never accounts for that chemistry. And I think over the year, that's always what, when people were building teams to beat Golden State, the reason why I always gave Golden State the nudge is because their chemistry was second to none. So that's something that's very important for the Lakers, who have 12 new players, 13 new players on their team. With the Clippers, that you're adding 2 two selfless superstars that are jumping into a situation that is very team and guys that have bought in. That's why I give them a nudge over the Lakers. But chemistry is huge. You see Houston. To me, Houston's been the second best team in the league the last few years behind the Warriors. But they're going through some chemistry issues. You know what I mean? So do you see now that the Warriors aren't the Warriors, they're probably not the roadblock they've been in the past for Houston. Is this Houston team ready to take that jump and really contend for a title? Mm-hmm. So it's wide open to me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys out there can relate when you talk about chemistry. It's not just the team and the roster. It's like life, and you're hanging out with. I'll never forget one of my best buddies growing up moved. His dad got a job and moved, and I was kind of the unifier between my buddy and another group, and like we would all mix. And like when my buddy left, I kind of phased out of that one group and then pivoted to the other one. And I think when I look at this Warriors bench, man, Quinn Cook, you would read stories about how he is like the coolest guy, super friendly, runs in all these different circles, has like an incredible Rolodex on his phone of like, oh yeah, I'm tight with Floyd Mayweather and we can go to this club and we can hang out here and I know these people in this city. And Quinn Cook's gone now. He leaves the Warriors and you lose Andre Iguodala.
Sean
Livingston just got cut. Jordan Bell, Damian Jones, Andrew Bogut. That's a lot on the... Somebody was telling me, I went to Vegas this week to sign up for this gambling contest for the NFL, and someone texted me, bet on the Warriors to miss the playoffs. There is some value there. Now, I know there's talent.
It's tough, yeah.
But listen, if Curry misses 20 games, Matt...
No, I mean, they're going to need a lot of luck to stay healthy and hold the fort down till Clay. But if they can develop chemistry with who they have, D'Angelo comes out and is the player he was last year to an extent, and they get Clay back, to me, they can, they can make some noise. Can they fight for a championship? We're going to have to wait and see. But they're still a solid team.
I'm going to hype a team here as an under-the-radar NBA team. Matt Barnes, Jason McIntyre in for Dan Patrick. And Matt's going to probably laugh at them. It's not a West Coast team. Their point guard issues are unresolved. They did win one playoff game last year, but they are young as hell, and that's the Orlando Magic. And I'll never forget when they stole game one from the Raptors. I was like, holy cow.
Oh, right.
I mean, DJ Augustin outplayed Kyle Lowry. Hey, by the way, the starting point guard there, DJ Augustin, the backup is Michael Carter-Williams. Not a great backcourt. They could be in the market for Russell Westbrook, but I just like the young guys, and they returned a lot of dudes.
Who else they have?
Jonathan Isaac, small forward. He's got some talent. Aaron Gordon, I like his game. He's tough. Fournier and Terrence Ross are two good shooters. And Vuku, however you say his damn name.
Very talented big guy.
And Mo Bamba. That's a good front line. I like the Al Farouk Aminu pickup. They're versatile. And the East is kind of wide open, man. I don't like Toronto anymore. No, I think the Bucks and the Sixers and the Celtics.
I think, I'm interested to see what the Celtics do because they had a great run 2 years ago, minus Kyrie and Gordon, allowed their young guys to develop. You lose Rozier, but I think a lot of those young guys took a sigh of relief when Kyrie left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, let's get back to business now. So being seen, but losing Al Horford is a big piece.
That's a tough
huge piece. But can Philly figure things out? I think Philly it's time for them to mature and grow up. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on there, but they're very talented.
I got some questions on Philly. My one key piece to Orlando, and people have largely forgotten about him, is Marquel Foltz. Number one pick in the draft. Now, Matt, you're plugged into the NBA scene. Marquel Foltz, I don't think the issues are physical.
Mental.
I think it's all mental.
It's all between his ears.
Have you ever seen a case like this? Number one pick overall, can't make free throws. I think he had a triple-double in his rookie year with the Sixers. People, we got something.
He can play. To me, it's, when you see someone like Lonzo and like Foltz, like you try to change what got them here. These guys were, Foltz was the number one pick, Lonzo was the number two pick, and then you want to change what got them here. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think you try to refine what they have. It may not be the prettiest jump shot, but it got them to be the number one and number two picks. These guys can play basketball, but I think confidence is absolutely everything in this game. And when you go to an organization and they completely try to change your shot or make you do all kinds of crazy stuff that you're not comfortable with, and you're a young player, you kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm glad that he was able to get a fresh start. I hope he has solid people in his corner. Just, forget everything you heard or learned in Philly.
That's the tough part.
Forget everything.
I mean,
go back to being Hugh.
He can't go on social media right now because he's getting killed. And that
tough.
stuff gets in your head at 20.
There's no question. When you're young, you hear everything, and it sticks a little harder too. You know what I mean? So hopefully he has a really solid circle around him. Forget everything you ever learned or heard in Philly. You know, this is a fresh start in Orlando, but the clock is ticking on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have too much time when you're number one pick and you don't produce for the first 3 years.
Hey, and one last thing before we go to break here. I want to mention about the Celtics. I know Horford's a big loss, but there's also the prospect that now Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum know they're not going anywhere, Matt. For a year or two, are they going to get traded for Anthony Davis? Are they going to get traded for Jimmy Butler? What about Paul George? There was that cloud over both those two that they could be on the move.
Right.
And that's taxing on a 19, 20, 21-year-old.
I think you saw it the most in Jason Tatum. He was their go-to guy during their run. And then I think last year he kind of floated around.
Are they trading for Anthony Davis?
You know, that, and then what is my role on this team? You know, Gordon's back now, so he's getting more touches. Kyrie is ball dominant. You know, they used to be predicated upon, ball movement, attack, and finding open shots, and that wasn't who they were last year. So I think he kind of didn't take steps that people thought he would take. So I'm interested to see how that happens, year 3 for him.